myself. My name is Lauren Lipscomb. I am AERO's outreach coordinator, and I'm based out of Whitefish, Montana. Um, I'm a bit of the messenger behind the scenes. I handle newsletter and e-news and social media and a lot of our graphic development and all of those things. And I'm also joined today by Kate, who is my co-facilitator. So I'll pass it off to her for a moment for a brief introduction.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Kate. I'm based here in the Gallatin Valley and have had the honor of working with AERO occasionally over the last couple of years and really enjoyed that. Was part of the team that decided to proceed with transitioning the 21-day challenge from Food Systems New England to a 21-week challenge here in Montana for Montanans to learn alongside each other, even though we didn't have capacity to facilitate conversation throughout. So I will say we're definitely really interested to hear what everyone has to say today about their experience. But before we dive into that, just wanted to give a chance to go all the way around for people to introduce yourself, who you are, where you are, even though most of us know each other. And then your beverage of choice this morning, which I think I may know everyone's answer, but I might not. And I take my coffee with a little bit of milk, no sugar. And I'll call on folks to keep it smooth as you're on my screen. Robin?
Oh,
You're not.
I'm just saying, okay, that's a great idea. I'm Robin. I am interim executive director of AERO. I'm based in the Flathead, where we are in the middle of a very low cloud inversion. So I'm envious of the sunshine I see in Helena and in through other people's homes. And my beverage of choice is tea, hot tea.
Andrea?
I'm in Bighorn County, and it's sunny outside today and supposed to be up to 62, which I'm happy about, but we're going to get snow probably later in the week. And my beverage of choice is coffee.
Excellent. And Maddie?
Morning. My name is Maddie Griswold. I am currently the outreach coordinator at Gallatin Valley Food Bank in Bozeman, although I'm actually phasing out this week as my final week there, and I'm returning to graduate school at MSU to pursue a master's degree in sustainable food systems, and we'll be specifically working on some Indigenous food sovereignty work across the state. And I'm in my cabin outside of Bozeman. I just got internet here and I'm in my closet basically. So sorry for the background.
I love it. Thank you, Maddie. Madison?
Hi, everyone. I'm Madison. I'm based out of Bozeman in the Gallatin Valley. I work for the Montana Institute on Ecosystems at MSU, and I also serve on the AERO board. Yeah, happy to be here this morning.
Max, you're next on my screen. Thank you, Madison.
Max Milton. I live on piece of land that's on 10 Mile Creek, about a mile outside of the Helena city limits. My coffee cup is empty and I only make it a cup at a time, so I'll have to survive till I'm done. I put a little honey in it and half. I'm a longtime AERO member and very interested in figuring out what a food system means here in my community. There are a lot of pieces of it, but a lot more work to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Max. And Lindsay, you're next on my screen.
Morning, everybody. I'm Lindsay, Grant Programs Manager at AERO. I'm in Livingston and we have some sunlight. It's like also going to be warm, probably similar to Bighorn County. And I drink really strong light roast coffee and I might run out by the time we're done, but I'll survive.
And then last on my screen, thank you, Lindsay. It's Elijah, right?
Elisha.
Elisha.
Yep. I'm the public policy coordinator at MFBN, the Montana Food Bank Network. based in Missoula. Working from home, I actually live up on the hill, so I just see the inversion and get a little bit of sunlight as well, so that's nice. Coffee is my morning drink, although it is gone, and just a little bit of half and half in it.
Excellent.
I can only be on for about the first 30 minutes of this and then have to jump over to something else, but looking forward to the conversation.
Which is actually a perfect segue. Lauren and I were chatting about the fact that many people on this call have to transfer over to the Grow Montana call that will be coming up. So our apologies, and we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. Lauren, did you want to take us into discussion?
Yeah, so just as a brief review, the 21-week challenge was an adaptation of a 21-day challenge that was created by Food Solutions New England over on the East Coast, and they facilitate this challenge every year in the 21-day framework for habit building. And following a group meeting after the initial challenge hosted by them this past spring, we decided to bring this challenge to Montana in a way that might be more digestible for a larger part of our community. So expanding it out into the 21-week framework. We did communicate with Food Solutions as far as the kind of getting their blessing and any suggestions on the facilitation of that program. They have since also been promoting it for, it continues to be open to the public, and adaptations for individual needs. They welcome the use of their resources. And they have been just really great as far as helping to get that set up. So just to get our discussion started and kind of reiterate, we are very much interested in just creating a space to hear your experience, thoughts, any feelings you have about what's next. So I'll go ahead and just get us started with a couple quick discussions. Just kind of hearing about if you were able to participate in the challenge, because we know some folks may be aware of it, but weren't able to participate. And then if so, how deeply or consistently. I think the easiest way to do this, if somebody feels like sharing, otherwise you could go ahead and drop something in the chat about just whether or not you participated and maybe consistency. And then while we're doing that, I'm just curious as to, while moving, if you did move through the challenge, or maybe of whether or not you have done education on racial equity outside of that framework. Just what is something that struck you with your experience? Any specific ideas, learning, questions that you may have?
And we're very comfortable with silence, so you do need to actually speak up. And I'll just rephrase that question while you're thinking, just really whether you participated in the challenge 100%, 0%, somewhere in the middle. What has really struck you recently? In particular tied to the challenge, it would be interesting because I think AERO's very curious where to take this work from here.
I'm going to actually speak up. I did not get to complete the whole challenge, but I think it's extremely valuable, and I hope that it continues to be available for people to explore. Even at an individual personal level, simply going through the materials makes you think more deeply, respond thoughtfully, and potentially differently. But at the same time, over and over and over again, I noticed that all the Zoom calls I'm on are almost entirely white people. And it's like, what can we do to change that? What can we do to make that difference? You know, where it is where everything is more integrated in our whole society?
It's an interesting question.
I didn't participate in it, but I've been reading a lot of history in the last couple of years. The amount of things I didn't understand about slavery and dismantling and Reconstruction and all that just continues to kind of amaze me. And one of the things that hit me this summer was pretty obvious with the meat packing worker situation and COVID was how we can spend a lot of social media and press on all outraged about, you know, the police brutality and the killings and the protest and the arguing about the protest. And here we have slavery in our food system and don't really even talk about it. And, you know, we eat our burgers, and I mean, I don't eat those burgers, but a lot of people, you know, fast food is not challenged, and yet fast, cheap food is only possible because of the exploitation of the workers, who are mainly people of color. So I think on a systems approach to food, there's obviously a lot of awareness that needs to happen. And I don't know if that was part of the challenge. I know it's kind of more about personal, you know, personal awareness and stuff, but just throw that in the hopper. So, you know, even in Montana, where a lot of the packing plants aren't here, that system impacts our farmers that raise beef, and it impacts our eaters who get cheap meat and therefore don't buy local meat. I mean, just, you know, there's a lot of ways to get after this one, I think.
I'd be curious, how many of you were able, who either participated in the challenge or didn't, how many of you have had an opportunity to speak with someone else about equity in the food system and how that shows up? Is anybody?
Actually, that's part of my job. So, you know, I mean, with Extension, I do SNAP Ed. And so, you know, trying to make the foods, trying to spread out the opportunities for people of limited income to participate in the food system in whatever way they want to is part of my job. You know, it's, and I think it's incredibly important in food deserts, but it's important everywhere.
I would also say questions are as valid as comments at this point, so don't bite your tongue because you're nervous.
I think I saw somebody's hand up. Lauren, did you have your hand up?
Not at the moment, but I mean, I'm sorry, my thoughts are escaping me a little bit at the moment. As far as, I mean, we just have a little bit of a mix of people that have participated in the challenge or not, which is 100% fine. As something that I came to recognize through even doing the challenge was a breakdown of this work, whether or not it consists in a challenge or not, is continuously of forwards and backwards of where we all are in our learning experience. I believe it was, I think in one of the earlier on challenges, it has folks observe their racial identity experience and that kind of process that we all move through in developing our own identities and how they relate to our racial background. But just that thing that struck me the most was how often I found myself pulling from different places along the line, and sometimes I had maybe been experiencing one phase of it, but then it had gone backwards in another one, and just the constant ebb and flow of the learning, and that really having to be okay in a lot of ways, if we do expect to be able to continue this learning. And I guess something we've been exploring as well is just kind of what's next for those that participated in the challenge, for people that maybe want to facilitate a challenge, just learning in general in Montana. And I'm just wondering if anybody has thoughts that they wanted to share on what they feel like would be just a next step in their own personal journey, or within their communities, or within Montana.
One of the messages I keep hearing as I try to just do, work on my own journey with learning about diversity, equity, inclusion is the reminder that, there's this question that comes up a lot, like, how do white people call other white people into this work? And just what I keep hearing from people of color and leaders in the movement is to just keep working on it and keep working on it and keep working on it. I think it's similar to your reflection, Lauren, that we are not gonna get like a certificate for good behavior or like any kind of really gold star positive feedback. It's just like digging into a really long journey that we might not ever feel prepared to lead, and maybe that's not our place. I don't know. That's the question I come back to a lot, is how do we listen, step back, step out, make space for the emerging stories, the emerging leaders who can help us learn how to dismantle this system of white supremacy that's just really so much a part of who we are, all our organizations and institutions. And so just and finding people that we can continue the work with, that will stay down in it with us, because I think it's just a challenge, to not be finding real clear answers and a lot of feedback. It's deep internal work, I think. Well, that was my experience with it.
See, for me, what I'm aware of is a shyness and a recognition of just how white my sphere is, my circle is. And, if I don't think about it, I can feel like it's closed and I don't know where to begin to reach out. I mean, that's a story in my head, and that's what it can feel like. And I recognize the part of me that is shy, and how that supports that separation of my bubble from what I perceive as the bubble of others. So that's just what I'm aware of, and part of what I'm working on.
And I'm facilitating, but I did want to offer this, that for me, I feel like it boils down to subtlety and paradox. The subtlety being tied to Andrea's question about why aren't there more people of color in this call, in our space, on all the calls that we have. And there's some real subtle ways of making assumptions and of communicating that I think we are unaware of. And then the paradox being multiple, but two of them that come to mind. One is we need to jump in and do the work, whites bringing whites in and being comfortable talking about it. but wait, weren't we just told that we're supposed to let people of color lead? So I see that freezing people up occasionally. There's a lot of these little paradoxes that catch us, I think, in trying to pursue the work. Another one is maybe not so much a paradox, but the subtlety of reaching out to someone who's like, oh, I care about that. I've learned about that. Yeah, I get it. And so they don't want to have the conversation. They don't want to dive deeper into the subtleties of the ongoing work because they feel like been there, done that, get it, and don't know how to handle it. And so let go or just focus on something else because it feels too big. And so I guess an opportunity that I see moving forward is working with people who care to find all those nooks and crannies and ways to continue bringing the conversation into spaces where people don't think it's relevant or it's not the goal of the day. So let's not bring that into the room.
Well, at the risk of, I mean, I don't have a real grasp of what the challenge actually was, but I'm getting a better sense that I was just looking at the whole, you know, our kind of the racial assumptions we carry and how it affects our behavior. But I was struck, Lindsay, on the food economy initiative, really light bulb went off when you talked about, you know, the people that are being served by work to decrease food security need to, you know, get the opportunity to lead the work. And I thought, well, God, how, of course. And when we try to start doing that, I mean, in Montana, a lot of it'll be a class thing as much as a racial thing. And we're looking at people in different income situations, but we'll probably be surprised to see where racial bias impacts that as well. But it seems that for our organization, the embarrassment and the difficulty really comes to the surface when we're actually dealing with other people. And then we have to kind of, it's not just an idea we're working on, but we're actually trying to learn how to get past our shame and embarrassment and making other people feel welcome in the work. And so I think we do have an opportunity in that sphere here. I don't know, did I hear you right on that, Lindsay? Does that make any sense?
And being open to form as we think about inclusion and really creating safe spaces for diversity. And because if we get out of our own perspective, we can start to understand how not all spaces feel safe to people of color. Right. And so I think it takes a lot of openness and dealing with our own shame is that internal process. And I think we need to work on that continuously and first before we invite inclusion so that we make sure we have safe spaces.
Yeah, I think we have to just get over it. And it keeps us from engaging in the work because we're afraid we're going to make mistakes. But it's like getting the work done is more important than making a mistake, I guess. But it's tough for us to become exposed and naked that way.
Folks, I'm going to have to interrupt. I've been informed that the Grow Montana webinar cannot begin until ours is concluded. And we are approximately 2 minutes away from that. I just want to thank you all for being here. And we do very much intend to continue this conversation and for you all taking the time to be here and just in this space, whether it's listening or sharing. And we look forward to connecting with you more in the future. I did drop the link to the 21-week challenge or the 21-day challenge specifically that we were able to use, and all of those are accessible. So just if you're interested in how to access those, those are there for you. And just thank you all very much again.
And sorry we can't chat for another half hour.
I know this is a little bit of a malfunction with the overlapping of schedules, but hope to see many of your faces in the sessions later today.
Well, maybe we can do it again.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Maddie.